Terrian, I am so sorry.
You're okay.
No, I'm not, but I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. And Chris Johnson, present. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes,
Yes.
I have, and I've studied them several times.
Are there any necessary changes to the minutes that you saw? And if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I approve.
You made a motion.
I made a motion, I'm sorry.
All right, thank you.
Sorry.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motions, raise your hand. Thank you. Discussion items. I should have done this before the meeting, as the meeting started. Anybody want to add anything to the discussion items right now that's not on there? Has anybody had a chance to look at it? I didn't want to, if not, I guess we could add
Well,
it later, but go ahead.
I would like to add a question about the Hatch gravestone, and has it been reunited with the,
Okay, that's the, okay, we'll take
that's
that.
sort of on the
Yep.
gin
Okay, thank you.
side.
Okay, let's move down through it. Is that okay? Everybody all set with
Yep.
any changes? That hatch, by the way, was the one that was up by the Catholic church. is the
Yes,
one, okay.
yeah, and the other half's at Central Street,
Right,
the
right.
public
I can
garage.
answer that, they haven't been connected. Have not.
Okay,
Could we, you wanna take that up now, rather than at the end here, we can do it now?
Well,
Why
I
don't you make your presentation here as to what your concerns are.
well, I think the stone should be reunited. The big question is, where do we put it, in which cemetery? We have no information. None of the hatchets have been found here in town that I'm aware of. I checked.
Can you
But-
back up a second and tell me, when you say reunited,
Okay, half of the stone.
the stone itself?
The
is-
stone
okay,
itself,
is it-
yes, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Half of it was found at the back of the Catholic Church parking lot,
okay,
and the other half was found up at the Public Works garage on Central Street.
okay.
And they're still in their same places. So I think Whitney could put it back together.
Oh, sure.
She sure could. I mean, I've seen her
And-
work.
But then we have the problem of what cemetery did it come from, and where is it gonna go?
Whitney is a lady who we've used, who's brilliant.
Sorry.
No, I knew who you meant by that, so,
Okay.
yeah, that's okay.
See the,
I'm just,
go ahead.
this is all just new to me, so I apologize.
That's okay.
What I'm concerned about is, there's a possibility that we could be putting something back that shouldn't go, where there could be another stone there now. And maybe the family at one time discarded this stone. I'm not disagreeing with your idea, but I just worry that we're gonna do something that was purposely undone in the past.
It might not even belong to Bucksport,
Well,
another town.
it might not, but I just hate to see it dumped there like it was never important.
I understand, I really do. So I guess what we need to do is determine which hatch that, if we can determine if that came from what hatch, what member, what family that may have come from. And I don't know if we've looked into that at all, but before I would spend any time or effort, I would want to make sure that by doing that, that I've done the right thing, that I put it back to the right location or the right cemetery. Just getting it to the right cemetery is going to be a challenge, let alone the right location in the cemetery.
Well, I have not seen the half that is at the garage. Yeah. So I don't know what information it has, if any.
That's what I'm
on it.
wondering, do you know what it says on the stone, on the half?
On the one by the Catholic cemetery, and I haven't looked at the pictures I took of it in a while, but, it just says the name Hatch, and then I think there's a date visible, 18th.
If I remember correctly, yeah. I've got photos of both, and I don't recall what's on.
Okay, okay, yeah, it's something I will have to
Mhm.
go look at again, and I don't know where the other half of the stone resides up at the
Yeah, I
garage.
think it's probably at the end of the building, near the end where you go along to go down to the trails down back.
Mm-hmm,
That's correct.
There along that wall, there's a bunch of old cemetery stones in there that are broken up. Because nobody knew what to do with them
Huh?
when they came upon.
Has anybody talked to any of the Hatches in town? Or
I haven't.
nothing has,
I have not. We've looked at some stuff online, but I don't really think we found out. Until we see what's on the stone,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
I'm just concerned that the stones may have broken and the family may have put a new one in its
Yeah.
place. And I don't know, but it definitely needs some work.
I'm pretty sure Whitney has investigated this some.
So we could contact her and find out what,
Well, I don't think she came up with anything.
okay. Your photos you took of them, are you willing to share those photos?
Yeah, I just don't have them right here.
No, I understand, but you could email them to me, right? Thank you.
It'd be easier to take new ones.
yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. If you can get it to her, and I'll get it to the whole committee. Does that sound like a start, Linda? Okay.
Appreciate it.
Is there
There's no
anything-
problem in, Whitney and I reuniting them.
I don't have a problem
I
with
just-
it. I don't think there's anything wrong, but, we're gonna reunite them to do what?
That's correct.
That's the
Yeah,
question.
that is,
Yeah.
that is the problem, but if we did find out something
Yeah.
about the Hatch, we
Right.
have the stone, I just,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Well, I asked Dick Tennant if he knew anything about it, and as you know, he didn't, but and I kind of dropped the ball right there, I guess.
Yeah. So we attach them and we're gonna store the stone somewhere, right? Once it's attached. Okay, we're gonna have to figure that out. I don't know if the town garages would be excited about holding that whole thing out there.
I just, they're not gonna mind.
You
They
don't
won't
think so? Well, let's find that out too. Contact Public Works.
I'm touring some of the buildings, facilities tomorrow morning. If the town garage is on the list, then I can,
You'll see the
See it,
stones. They're
yeah.
in the little grassy area at the end of the building there. They were put in there because there was no other place, I guess, to conveniently store.
Some of them were half buried, we dug them out.
Yeah, yeah.
Leaned them against the building.
Okay, we ready to move on? Are we all set?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Item A at the top, Public Works and Town Managed Cemeteries. For many times now, I've asked for a report on how many hours, labor hours, that has been used to maintain the cemetery mowing program. And I still haven't seen anything of it, and I just wish that, and I was told twice that the Public Works Department is keeping records now, how many hours they're putting into that Public Works, into the cemeteries rather, but I never get a report and I never hear. Because at one time, I thought perhaps we could have a cemetery budget, but apparently that's not a viable option at this time either. Maybe things will change soon. But it's always been merged into the Public Works expense lines. And that presents a problem when you want to do projects or get things done. If we, the Oak Hill Cemetery project was done by endowment funds. There was a large endowment that we used, and that's how that got done. But we haven't really done any. Well, we had the tree cut at the Lanford Cemetery. I don't know of any other thing that we've done. That was an expense that came out of, I assume, Public Works. But I would really like to get going, and if the town ever gets receptive, or the council ever gets receptive to having a budget for cemetery maintenance, that would be a great start to say this is what your labor costs are. And with certain, I don't know how many ash trees we've got out there either, but that's another issue that will be rearing its ugly head, as they say. So I just wanted to bring that up and hope that we can start getting a report on how many hours they're using. So I think it's just a good thing to have. Anybody else have any thoughts about that? Are we all set?
Mm.
All right, I'm gonna move on to item B, Oak Hill update. A lot has happened since October with this. Many of these things, the vendor, the fence is in, the two chain fence. I had one person tell me that they were not happy with the fence because the leaves are blowing across the street into their.
Oh, really? There's always gotta be something, right?
I said, well, I'm so sorry, we didn't think about that. And the other thing was, we were worried about the windy days when the chains are swinging. They were worried about their safety, and I assured them those weren't metal chains, they were plastic chains. I thought they'd come out all right. But that's the only thing I've heard. Has anybody heard any other reaction?
There is a problem with the plastic chains.
Okay.
This winter, several of them broke. And come to find out, there's two different sizes of chains in there. There's a heavy-duty one, and there's a light-duty one. Well, it's the light-duty ones that broken due to snow load on the bottom strand.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you for bringing that
I
up.
know that the guys were up there, the guys from Superior Fence were up there, 3 or 4 days ago,
Yeah, I think
and replaced, I
No.
think,
3 days ago, worked on
at
it.
least part of the fence on the boundary between Wilson Hall and cemetery. But they didn't replace all of it, because I checked this afternoon, and coming down Middle Street, it's still light duties.
Okay.
Hmm.
Did you have any discussions with them about this?
I did not.
Okay,
Jay, I believe, has been talking to him.
okay. All right, thank you. I'll check with him, see what he's learned, and see how much of it. It'd be nice to know why that happened, or they just ran out of fence, or, out of heavy-duty chain, but,
And the heavy duty one is also plastic, just heavier, and it's holding up.
Seems to be.
Yeah.
thank you, Larry. I
But
appreciate that information.
I would suggest that all get replaced, all the light duty get replaced.
Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly. I don't wanna have to, after the winter, replace another set, so.
Well, it'd
So-
be nice to do a walkthrough with the vendor too, to make sure everybody
Yeah.
understands.
The gentleman from the town that was mowing up there today, by the way, has been mowed.
Excellent.
Awesome.
It's almost complete. But anyway, he said that Jay was supposed to meet with the owner of the company, and he doesn't think that happened. That a crew came down and did some work, and there was no meeting.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right, well, it's time to get
So-
hold of Jay then, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, that's disappointing.
And there was also, during the installation, they had, the first crew that came in there said they'd have it done in 3 days. Well, I think probably,
3
Like-
weeks.
more like 3 to 5 weeks. And it was always a different crew, it seemed. So nobody seemed to know what was supposed to go on with the openings in the fence. So we finally got that straightened away.
Thank you. It's gonna be interesting we didn't have a real deep freeze this winter, to see if we do get one, what happens in the spring for those posts. Because there's always those doubting Dannies out there that have told me all those posts are gonna pop right out of the ground, Chris, you watch. And I thought, well, we'll deal with it if they do.
Yeah.
And try to make it better. But right now, I guess they held up pretty well, the post did. We didn't have any pop out of the ground or anything.
No.
Not yet.
Well, thank you, Larry. Any other discussion on the Oak Hill?
It did get partially mowed and weeded, yesterday and today
Wow,
in the rain. It's not completely done, but at least it's more accessible. Some of the tall grass is gone on the path, and I'm assuming this is in preparation for Mother's Day and any,
and
Potential.
Memorial Day too, yeah.
you know, Memorial Day coming up, and so for potential visits, but there is a lot more to be done there. So I don't know whether the town's gonna be back to do it or not. I was happy to see that at least they were working on it.
Yeah, and I talked to the gentleman that was doing it, and he's thankful for the chain rather than the chain link fence because of the weed whacking.
Right,
Get right up around around the post.
yeah.
He was happy about that.
This rain, I've had to jump out of the way of the grass growing in my lawn. It's been coming up so fast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, it's really changed this week too.
Mhm.
Any other discussion about Oak Hill? I know we've got a lot of information from the Historical Society about the various people that are in there. Some of the town founders and some of the important people of the 1800s are in there. And I'm hoping that the Historical Society someday we can get those meshed in and make presentations about these famous people, the Darlings and all of those folks that are up in there.
Mhm.
That was
Just-
very-
Just just one other thing about the maple, we did decide to keep the maple,
Yes, I'm sorry, I missed that, yeah.
but to do some
Pruning, right? Or
pruning,
yeah, exactly.
pruning and to try to
Keep that from separating anymore,
Yeah.
split.
I would hate to see that happen. It's a beautiful tree.
Who's gonna do that? Was that gonna be
I don't think we decided
Big
on,
J? I think it was he the one we met?
well, but I think as far as it went.
Okay.
You know, we had a
Okay.
meeting with Big J and he
Mhm.
made his suggestions, but
All right,
no real plans to do it.
So where the cemetery committee, you said the budget falls under Public Works. If there's something to be done, then it just gets relayed to them and then they set things up, or?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
all right, so somebody needs to, well, we've used Big J in the past, he is local. So I guess, but that would be up to the town manager, I guess the council, as to how to proceed with that. We can make our recommendations. And I think it was to use not a cable, but like a rod or something between the things and
Mhm.
try to hold it in place. That's what he talked about.
Rod or cable, yeah.
Mhm.
And then some, I won't use the word severe, but heavy pruning.
To reduce the risk of it falling down and destroying one of the gravestones or other pieces of the puzzle in the graveyard. We wouldn't want that to happen, so
Well, Jay's very good.
yeah.
All right, so we need to deal with that too, then. We'll add that to the list of things.
But as you remember talking to Jay, it's not an easy task.
Mhm.
We talked about a crane and
Yeah,
That's right, I remember that now.
yeah, I remember that too as well.
And
so
those
it could
sto-
be quite expensive.
Yeah.
And those stones are still down at the bottom like this, around that root hump, it's like, yeah. Anyways,
So anyway, yeah.
thought it'd be interesting to get an estimate. It may come down, who knows what'll happen to it. But I really surprised when we took down the ones on Franklin Street, there wasn't more response on that. I really thought that would cause a problem, but they're down and looks great.
Mm.
And I'm a tree fan, but
I
boy,
am too.
trees are murder in a cemetery. They're just bad,
Yeah.
bad things in a cemetery. And plenty of cemeteries have them. It just means a lot of labor and a lot of broken stones and
Oh, yeah.
Ruth humps, and it's a mess, but I'm glad we took them out. Okay, any more about Oak Hill?
Not that I can think of.
Overall, is everybody happy with what they're looking at now? Linda, you see it every day, as does Larry.
I
Right.
think it looks great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All the clean stones, and the fence.
Whitney
Beautiful.
does a phenomenal
Yeah,
job,
Whitney.
Jen.
Do you think Whitney's done in there?
I think she's got a few more stones to
Okay,
tackle.
okay, that would be
A
great.
couple to be repaired,
Yeah.
set back on foundation,
And
but that it looks great.
I think her report from October mentions that she would like to finish up Oak Hill and move on to Lanford.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I think it did.
Yes, I believe so as well.
I think I put all that in the drive records, but I don't know that I printed it out or anything. Whatever she got, I scanned and put in there, so all of her records, which are, Jen, if you haven't seen them, her records are incredibly wonderful and
They're
precise
detailed.
and just really
Detailed.
full of information and recommendations. It's like, wow, I wish every company were operated like this.
I know,
She
right?
does a great job. She just does. All right, I'm gonna move on. We ready to move on?
Yes,
to
sir.
The Lanford tree update. That tree is now down and laying on its side, sort of in the back.
Yeah, so we moved a couple of large stones, Whitney and I think it was three small stones for that to happen. So we've got to move those back where they belong.
What's gonna happen to the bulk of the tree that's lying there?
It's gonna remain lying there, I believe.
Hmm.
There's nothing down over the slope behind it, is there? Is there a stone behind it?
Oh, no. Behind the
Yeah,
tree that's
down the
down,
slope where it
No.
goes.
Okay.
just tree, pieces of tree.
And
Very visible.
we
It's
really,
huge.
we really don't have, what happened, there was a pine tree? Got a lot of damage. It broke off halfway up, about, I don't know, 15 feet up, it broke off. And we got all that cleaned up, but there was a tree stump, basically a long elongated tree stump. They took that down last year, but in order to do that, they had to move some stones. That's what Larry and Whitney did. They moved the stones out of where the tree was dropped, and now it lays in the back end. And those stones have to be put back to where they're removed from. So I just thought about that big tree laying there, and I thought pushing it back was probably out of the question.
I haven't gone in to look, but I suspect that the bulk of the tree is on the bank in the back there, so he wasn't able to push the
Okay.
butt.
And we really do not know where the property lines are on that. I don't, there was, in the Lawrence Cemetery, or one of those cemeteries, there are markers. I think there's some, I think we found some at Lanford. We found the corner markers on a couple of them there. I just didn't want to push it in the neighbor's land property there, that stream that comes down in the backside there. Get them all wound up.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay. Well, thank you for all that you and Whitney did. We really appreciate it. It's really nice.
You're welcome.
Any more questions about the Lanford tree? Has a poetic sound to it, doesn't it? So we do need to move stones back. So Larry, you'll let us know, is that something you could do? We could rally around to help?
I think Whitney and I can handle it as soon as she comes up here again. Which will be shortly, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you, Larry.
She's in Greece, isn't she?
Yeah, I mean,
She's in Greece right now.
I've seen the pictures.
So,
Amazing.
Plenty of stonework over there.
Yo, I bet. Beautiful down
Yeah,
there.
really.
All right, moving on, 917 right-of-way contact with Mr. Jerome. That was something that Mark was gonna be involved with when he was here. I didn't pursue that at all, so I'm a babe in the woods here trying to figure out where to go with this. We were trying to establish that there had been a right-of-way granted, I believe, and you folks may need to help me fill this in.
Okay.
There was a right-of-way established after the church was moved,
Mhm.
is my understanding. and where that right of way was perhaps given through the cemetery, some of the original cemetery. I guess what I need to do is contact Mark and find out what it is exactly, because Larry showed me a map or a chart a few months ago that showed a road going up, as you look at the chart, going up to the left of the cemetery and going by, pretty much to where the end of the cemetery is. I didn't go beyond that because I guess that wasn't part of the detail of the chart. But we did see that, and we also saw something that's completely irrelevant, but we saw the original church had one of those geodetic survey discs in it.
Yeah.
And that church burned in 1879, in March of 1879, due to wood stove being left, whatever. But we've always had a difficult time trying to understand exactly where the cemetery is. This last year we found it. We found a lot of grave mounds lined up in the wooded area. But there was some question as to ownership, right of ways. So what I will propose to do, and I guess I could have done it between last October and now, is contact Mark and find out exactly what the issue, what he knows.
I'm sure that he would still be willing to meet with Mr. Jerome.
That would be nice. I will ask him that too, yeah.
Hmm.
I do not know Mr. Jerome. I know of him, but we met him. We met him during a site review. Very nice gentleman.
I grew up the road from him
Yeah.
as a kid, so I kind of,
Very nice man.
yeah, he is, very nice.
And he was very cooperative when we were there, trying to figure out where everything was. And Linda, you didn't go on that, did you? That
I didn't.
we need to go up there sometime. And
Yeah.
take a look.
Oh, I really want to see it. It's the only cemetery I haven't been to. Jennifer, are you aware of the stone problem with this cemetery?
I'm sorry. Good question.
I'm trying to figure out which
Okay.
cemetery this one
I'm
is.
sorry.
So it was on
Okay.
River Road facing the town farm road.
This is on the River Road.
Yeah.
There is a home that sits back on the hill. It's a gray house at 917
Oh, that's the 917. Okay.
River Road. And
Yeah.
that's what is referred to as the 917
Okay,
cemetery.
I got you.
Okay, years ago, there was a owner of that home and property who did not like the cemetery being on his property. So he had all the stones removed and taken to Riverview.
Yep.
And they were placed there. That leaves a bunch of graves with the bodies still there. But the stones are at Riverview,
Oh.
and so we want to move them back. I think that was the idea,
Mhm.
wasn't it,
Yeah.
essentially? And,
But it's still private property?
well,
Or they don't,
That's-
that's what you say, you don't know where the,
that's what sort of the question is. Yes, I'm sure that Mr. Jerome owns the property. But people who have relatives
Sure.
there in any cemetery need access
Sure.
to that, and
Yeah.
by law, they're
Yeah.
entitled to
Right.
do that. So, we need to find out if a right-of-way to the cemetery was established through his property, and he's been very cooperative from what
Wonderful.
I've understood, unlike the previous
Oh,
owner
yeah.
who,
Who had
didn't
the
want
move
us
in the
on,
first
yeah.
place, okay.
But, yeah, so we need to reunite, stones there. Obviously, they won't be with the right body, but,
There is a small monument that was placed there by the town, I think, right after the move of the stones to Riverview,
How long ago about? was
early
that?
80s.
Okay.
And we found the cemetery, but we believe that since the moves, there's been a right-of-way given out somehow. What the worry, correct me if I'm wrong, the worry was that this right-of-way goes right through the old cemetery. That's my understanding. So we're trying to determine where the right-of-way is, when it was given. What does that mean? So it could mean a lot of legal issues in the future, depending on how serious they want to get about this. But that's been a problem, it's been a sticking point, but Mr. Jerome's been wonderful when we've gone up there. We went up to the woods and it took us a while. We did find there's still one little stone there, child's stone that's still in the ground there. But all the other stones are up at Riverview laying on the bank, on the far right, down at the bottom. They're not gonna be, to move these, and many of them are slate stones, it's gonna be really difficult. It could get really expensive. No matter what they're made of, it'll be a challenge. And I don't think it's a thing that the town would be interested in taking the chance on and doing it themselves. That's just me shooting from the hip now, but that's always been a concern, it's, go ahead, Larry.
I think we're a little confused on who Mr. Jerome is. He's not the one that, I don't believe he's the one that owns the property now. I think he's the one that owns a piece of property up
Behind.
back that has a right of way to it. Has
Okay.
this right of way to it that's in question.
I'm sorry, I appreciate you correcting me on that.
I believe him.
I don't know. I thought the owner of the house owned all of that property, including
He does, but there's a right of way
okay.
on the south side
Mhm.
that I'm afraid goes up through where where we established that the cemetery would be.
Okay,
Well,
I was just trying to avoid something happening in the future
right.
if we put stones in there and then he wants to use his right of way.
there is a sort of a mowed area to the right of the house that goes
Yeah.
up there. Is that
Yes. That
part
was part
of-
of the original access point.
okay?
We did a grounds radar scan at the very beginning on the right-hand side of the property, thinking that's where the cemetery was, but it wasn't. We never really got it way up, back further, which is where it is. The church foundation is still, well, the church foundation hole is still there with the mounded up rocks around it, that's it. But it's the cemetery itself is up and behind there. For some reason, we did a sonar scan down here on the right along the property line, because we felt that's probably where it was, but it wasn't, it's up back. So we've now established where it is. But again, the question is, the right of way, where is it? Who has that right of way? So the right of way came in off Route 15. And we don't know when that right of way was given. That's another problem, right?
I don't.
No. And there was a right of way at one time that came in off Town Farm Road that went up to pretty close to that, but I don't know if they connected. Then there was some speculation there was another access road that swept in from the north side, further up the Riverview, further up Route 15, and like went up on the next property, went up around, came in that way. But there's no proof of that, but it looks like there was something built in there. Anyways, I guess we need to get a hold of Mr. Jerome and find out if he's identified, if he has understanding about right of way. It should be in the deeds of the town, the county
Should,
deed.
but again, Mark
I'll check with Mark.
is the one that was gonna check with Mr. Jerome. I think he still will
I think you're right.
do that.
It's been a long-term frustration, to say the least, for all of us. Anything else on 917, the right of way issue? You all set with that? Okay, and I will contact Mark and I'll let you all know what I find out. I think we've, item E is something we don't need to be talking about. I think it's all solved. And thank you again
Yeah.
for
Mhm.
jumping into the breach. It gets rowdy here once in a while.
Yeah, I know, right?
You have to be careful. Item F, the Ginn Memorial. Some background on that is, there was a gentleman who was a Revolutionary War patriot in the Revolutionary War. I can't identify his name, it either ended with G-E-N-N or G-I-N-N, or it may have changed during that time. He, at one point, I think he owned the shipyard down where Hannaford is now. If he didn't, his family did, but he was part of it. We can't find his grave. anywhere. So there was some speculation that there's a possibility that the grave could have been at that location, at the Hannaford location. Well, it wasn't Hannaford then, it was Sampson's originally, it was the supermarket there. But that's some speculation. So in lieu of that, I've been trying to work with the DAR, although she hasn't called me back recently, but I'll get back in touch with her again about getting a memorial stone put in at the back side of the Buck Cemetery, where there apparently is very little interments there. And we thought we could place a memorial stone for Mr. Ginn as a Revolutionary War veteran. It's just, is it Ginn or is it Gann? I don't know. It's changed so many times from when I've done some research on it. I will give her a call. That's Elizabeth Ash Snow is her name. And she lives in Blue Hill or Penobscot, somewhere down.
Ellsworth, I thought,
Is it?
Penobscot.
I talked to her 3 weeks ago. And she's willing to move forward, but they want to make absolutely sure that he doesn't have a stone in Orrington or Orland.
His wife was buried in Orrington. She was a Briggs or something, a maiden name.
Briggs.
So she's up there. I asked Judith, she's gonna kill me if I hear me say Judith. Judith about it. She said she looked around once, I believe, but she couldn't find anything there. And it just seems strange that they were buried in separate locations.
Well, the reason Liz said that is because some of his relatives are buried in Orland. And she wants to make sure that he wasn't buried on their plot.
So we do
And I was gonna look into that, and I just haven't had a chance.
so I wonder who has the Orland records for that? I guess it must be the town office over there. I did look it up, but I couldn't find anything about it. We did find out, we've got all his will and all his records, all his assets, everything is there. Everything you ever wanted to see about a person, everything. I mean, in great detail, who did the estate, who were the executives of the estate, sorry about that. And no burial information at all. But anything else you want to know about Mr. Ginn and his assets and everything and how who dealt with, it's all right there on the record, but no burial places listed. And I've gone through a couple times myself and thought, this is crazy. There's got to be something somewhere about it. And I don't think the DAR, don't think has anything. They ran into a blank on that. And I haven't checked with the American Legion, but I have their records as well. So
Well, he's listed in the DAR in their records,
right, but not where he is buried, though.
but not, no.
Right. Well, I subscribe to the whatever it is. It's called something with all the records of all the veterans, and I've gone in there a couple times and thought it's got to be in here somewhere, but nothing's there. So in default, we decided what we could do is get a memorial made and put it up at the Buck, which is pretty close to the family property there. They did have a shipyard. He owned the shipyard. It had been there before the family bought it, I believe, but they ran it for a long time. Built a lot of ships there, that location. So that's how that's on the agenda.
What is his first name, James?
James, yeah.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of them around too. They somehow they became Gins, and then some became Gens, or they started as Gen and they changed it to Ginn. It just adds to the fun, you know. So there's plenty of opportunity here to spend some time looking at it. But you did contact her. Are we going to contact her again? Should I call her? Or?
Sure.
All right. Thank you for contacting her. I'll find out what she wants to do. Can't remember where we left it last time. She was going to look something up and I think get back to me, but I don't remember. I could be wrong on that. It's been so long. It's been a while since we've met, so. But we're all still here.
Yeah, no, yeah.
That's a plus.
We're all still here. Nobody's passed yet, so.
Knock on wood.
I
Keep the
think we-
members of the committee.
I think Liz was gonna look into the same thing that I just mentioned, and, you know, about, whether he might be buried on a site in New Orleans or Orrington.
She is gonna do that.
I think that's what she
All right,
was,
thank you.
she just didn't have time.
I may still double check with her.
yeah.
Okay, unless you wanna double check too.
No, it's fine.
You know, I've had some interesting discussions. She's a very nice lady. Other items on the agenda not for discussion. We've already gone over that. It's time to discuss something that's, not on here, right? It should have been on here. That is elect new officers, new chair. It would be nice to have another chair on this committee.
I nominate Chris Johnson.
I don't wanna do it anymore.
I second.
Can we force you to do it, Chris?
You know,
No,
I've
I
got
understand.
You do such a good job. though.
3 committee meetings here, committees now. The Historical Society. You know, I get confused to the point where some days I start thinking about another committee when I come into these committees, and I think, oh my God, I've got the wrong committee in my head. It's becoming more difficult. And as you saw last time, Mark agreed to take over the meetings because I was struggling to stay on top of the agendas here. It's tough. But if somebody else would take over the chair of the meetings, I'll still be here, at least for this year. But after this year, you know, I'm becoming challenged in so many ways, so. This is not only just this committee, it's other committees as well, that just become a challenge, so. I'm spilling my guts out here in front of the public, but I just thought I'd let you folks know that I just don't wanna be chair again. And basically, right now, I'm just willing to work hard if somebody else wants to be chair, and I can show them minutes and it'd be nice to have new members come too.
I'm not prepared to do it.
Look at me.
I mean, I can do it. I can. I just feel weird
wonderful.
sharing something I've never been a part of before. so.
It'd be wonderful if you did, and I'd be there to support you and help you in every way possible. As a matter of fact, I've got about 6 things right here from this meeting that I can do, but that's okay. I'm excited about the changes that are coming in the building. I'm excited about the council. I'm not excited about the potential funding issues in the national, state, and local, what impact that's gonna have. But, you know, we can at least get the act together. I think we've done some good work. And it's been frustrating not to make more progress, and that some of that's my responsibility at a quicker rate than what we've done. But Jen, to pontificate a little bit, I believe that the sign of a good town, a great town, is great cemeteries, great libraries, great institutions like that. And I really think that we could strive to be the best. And I think it's a great economic, and it's a great economic driver as well. People come to towns to do research, and they eat the restaurants. You know, I know that happens where I go a lot up in Dover, Foxcroft, and Milo area. Those restaurants and little places around the Evergreen Cemetery and some of those other cemeteries does very well in the summer. People come in there to start doing research. And we have a lot of information here on these cemeteries, a lot. I started in with the town records a few years ago, but I looked at it, thought I'm not ready. That they have boxes of information up there that I believe 80% of the records in this town we've got scanned and have digitized. But I believe there's another 20% the town might have. Some of that up there is still, we've already got it. It's just copies, but there could be other things in there that would be nice to get scanned. There's a lot of records that are still out there that we haven't dealt with yet, and maybe that's where Mr. Ginn is, his information, I don't know, but I think we've all done some pretty good work here. It'd be nice to get 917 straightened out once and for all. That's been a challenge, and it still will be, but yeah, if somebody else would run these meetings, that would be great. that would be
Thank you, Jen.
Yes, thank you.
so if you wanted to take a vote on Jen,
I just want to comment on your comments. In the last year, we've made great strides in Oak Hill. I mean, that's
we did.
right up there now.
Yes.
It took a year. Where we failed is 917.
Yeah.
Mm,
We need to
and get that situated.
concentrate more on that.
Yeah,
I agree. And again, the challenge will be the financial challenge, because Oak Hill was easy. The money was already there,
Right.
but the rest of them aren't. And the challenge is how we're gonna manage these in the future. And I always hoped that we could have a budget line, but that apparently at this time is not a viable option. The cost will be absorbed into the public works, so that's how it's done. And so for them to be there mowing, it's great. I just wish we could have a record of how much. I know we talked at one point, we got some information that Oak Hill took 22 hours, two people 22 hours to mow it or something like that. So we came up with a cost of $500 to $700 every time it mows, and labor costs. Something like that. I guess we budget $30 an hour or something like that, just to get an idea of what these cemeteries, it's not cheap. Keeping these cemeteries is not gonna be cheap, and the labor cost alone, that's why commercial places don't go in there, because of the hummocks and the hills. You just can't drop a big mower, do it,
Yeah,
get back
right.
on it, and hit the next account. It takes time. But there's a lot of support in the state for good cemeteries. Maine Old Cemetery Association is out there. Plus, we're now a member of the Maine Cemetery Association, I believe, too. I think the town enrolled in that. I can find out for sure, but I know that was what the plan was, so we can get their information and their resources. Maine Old Cemetery Association, Linda, you're a member of that, as am I. They do great work. I wanted to get to that training session last year, but I just couldn't schedule it. They having one in Harpswell, is kind of ways for me to drive down there, but they do a lot of good work. Maybe they'll be back up this way. They have a lot of records. But every town struggles with the cemeteries. They do, because there's never a big groundswell, no pun intended, of support behind that, until there's a problem, and then you hear about when the problems arise. But,
I still haven't given up on replacing the cannons in Oak Hill.
oh, yeah.
Yes.
Should you want to explain that to Jen as well?
There's a monument for Civil War. It's pretty much right in the center of Oak Hill. And there used to be two cannons on either side of it. They originally came from Fort Knox. And they were there for years, and then they went back to Fort Knox, to make a long story short. So we're missing two cannons that would really spruce that cemetery.
Are they in storage or on display?
They're on display.
They're on display at Fort Knox.
So we'll never get those back, but if we could get something that at least represents the Civil War area.
Yes.
And I do remember now the two, I'm sorry, Linda,
No.
the two that were in front of I believe in front of the American Legion Hall, that were there too.
There were two there that
Yeah.
came from Fort Knox as well.
Those I remember I think I mentioned before, the bus drivers groused about having them be there when they tried, the Lumen Warren School was operating then, and they would come out of that Mechanic Street extension, have to turn, and sometimes if you turned right, it was a bear, because these
Yeah.
things were sticking out there, and they were always cursing these cannons. So I got a hunch that may have been one reason they also disappeared, but I have not found any contracts associated with that being put in these cemeteries. But I got a hunch that there must have been something there that gave the government the right to take them back, put them at the fort. I'm trying to find that out now. The lady who was in charge of Oak Hill at the time has passed, and so I doubt there's any records from what she had. Many of her records are still at the Historical Society, but I've not found anything in there that indicates an agreement that at a certain point you have to return these things. But it took, Larry and Linda worked on these with the numbers. We thought they were the ones down at Searsport, if I remember correctly. at
Right.
first.
Well, yeah.
But
Right.
we had the wrong numbers. We had the right numbers. The right numbers are at the fort now. So Larry's always, and we talked about maybe developing another kind of like a one based on wood?
Yeah, I got a quote on having a couple carved, but I got voted down on that. So I'm still thinking of how we could, or how I could carve something out that would last.
Did we talk about a three-dimensional printer? My mind is starting to.
Ah,
3D print some,
yeah.
yeah.
Was
Yeah,
that
Mark was,
discussed?
yeah, we talked about that. Mark was gonna check with,
The university or somebody?
no, right up here at the school.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'll write that down too. Mark,
I don't think he ever connected.
thank
We
you.
do a
It's,
lot of
it's
be
easy for me
neat.
to connect with the school if we have questions for school, but as far as, I mean, something could be, you're thinking printed in pieces and assembled to get the size that you're, I mean, because the printers the printers that they have wouldn't be, you know, large scale, like the university may want,
Right.
something like that, but
They're
you
making
could
houses
print
now.
pretty much anything and make it in sections.
But he was gonna talk to Mike Gross.
That's who it was, Mike. Yeah. Mike's still there, right?
I think so, yeah.
But I was wondering about that, if it was able to make something that large. The barrel probably, definitely not. And that's, I don't know, 6 feet long.
Maybe we get,
It would have to be like puzzle piece type
Yeah.
sections
maybe
put
Legos
together.
will have one out of
But it,
I know, right? Yeah.
They
wait
do
a-
a
would be-
Formula One car.
it would be interesting though, cause there are designs online that people make free as a shared space for basically anything you could ever want to 3D print. So it'd be easy to search if there's cannons.
Hmm, yes.
What about the chainsaw person over there in Rhode Island?
That's where I got the quote.
That's where you got the quote from.
Oh, wow.
Well, Lego's now doing speed racing cars. Maybe there'll be a Lego cannon here.
Maybe.
So, those pieces all together.
Anyway, I haven't forgotten about those.
Thank you. Thank you for all you've done, and thank you, Linda, for helping him out and doing whatever you did too.
I'm just supporting the idea. I haven't done much.
You know, all
Anything-
the little bit of running around we did, you know, trying to
Yes.
find out where they went. And
What?
all we had to do is go over to the fort,
know.
and they got it right there.
Wow.
I went to.
The whole lot,
The
right?
whole history.
Actually looked at the numbers on their cannons.
Oh, wow.
That's how they knew.
Yeah.
Anyway, I nominate Jen
Yeah, I did too as well.
Oh, yes.
for chair.
We have a nomination and a second. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jen.
Oh, yes, that's great.
I'll transfer the massive files and all that go along with this.
Okay.
You do have access to Google Drive.
Yeah.
The Google Drive I have, I think, comes through Rich. What he does with these is he sets up a folder. He gives me not ownership, but, you know, whatever the level is. Then I share it out with the group.
Yeah.
And they can access all the files. And I put stuff in there all the time. If I find stuff about Bucksport cemeteries, I throw it in there and try to keep it organized as best I can. And Rich will work with me too, so that's how it's set. But I think I've got you in right now already. I'll double check.
I haven't been in the drive, but with my council email account, if anything you have in there, I should be able,
should be
as long
able
as
to
I'm
get-
shared on it.
Yeah, I'll double check it. I think you are, but I'll double check. Great. Thank you. All right, next meeting. Want to meet in June again? Second or fourth?
So I'd say the fourth
Fourth in June.
Thursday.
That sounds good.
One,
All right,
two.
is everybody all right with that? At what
Yes.
time? Does 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock work better for you, Jen?
I'm pretty flexible on that, so whatever works for you guys.
What would the town like?
I don't know if there's other fourth Thursday meetings on a regular basis. I know there's gotta be something.
I think they did 5 o'clock because of the counselors that would be present at this meeting. We
Yeah.
go from this one
For
to
that?
Mhm.
any other ones that they had before the council meeting, so they
Right.
could go bam, bam, bam.
Right,
Right, and that makes sense. And I just don't wanna, we need to find out if the building's available at that hour, if we do 5 on the 4th.
should be.
We don't know that somebody else may have already grabbed it.
Right, I think the ones that I can think of haven't started usually before 6. I think the other ones, so if I think the 5 to 6 window should be okay. I mean,
Right.
if
You wanna
it works,
schedule-
I mean, 5 is better for me, just cause some days I'm in my office until 4:30 or so, but I
Right.
can do 4 if we need to do earlier.
Well, I'm happy with 5. I don't know about the rest of the gang here, but, calendar.
I go on just for the reasons I just gave.
So that'll be June 26th. Hope I've got that right this time. But it looks at my calendar, it says Thursday, June 26th.
Yeah, why did I write that down?
For the next meeting,
Yes,
Okay.
June 26th.
it'll be the 4th Thursday.
Okay. Thursday. At 5.
At 5 PM.
Okay,
You all right, Steve?
that sounds good.
All right, any other comments, questions, ideas?
Not that I can think of.
If not, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
I second that.
All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion adjourned.